We are back with the Inside the Block podcast, and I am here with the famous, as we were discussing, Cole Arimes, who is beyond busy lately. Thank you so much for being on.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm not sure I'd go that far with the description.
I get to go that far. I get to say these things. So, owner of Epping's on East Side, owner of Cole's on Main, and I think we should jump straight in. I want to know about your new projects.
Well, we've got the Black Squirrel in Versailles.
And what building is it in Versailles?
It is the old, I'm going to misquote, but the old Union building, I believe.
Okay, sure.
It was Spark Community Cafe before we, got in there. But just a beautiful old building with wood floors and lots of natural light and windows. And so we're doing a little breakfast lunch spot Wednesday through Sunday right now.
Great. And so why Black Squirrel?
Black Squirrel, my partner is a better person to ask this question because he can go into infinite detail. But the Black Squirrel is an old saddlebred sire.
Okay.
So that is born out of Woodford County and has, I forget how many foals he sired, but a good chunk of the saddlebred industry has come from the Black Squirrel. And he was a big black horse with a bushy tail, so they called him Squirrel. So he's the Black Squirrel.
Yeah.
And but he also has ties to my partner's family way back when, and that's when I fall short.
You're like, yeah, sounds good. Check. Let's go.
So
yeah, but you don't usually do. I mean, when I think of Epping's and I think of Cole's, like these are dinner spots. So why breakfast and lunch?
Versailles. I think something new, and I think Versailles is just ready for that kind of market to come in. Versailles is doing a whole lot downtown and really trying to revive everything down there. You go down Main Street, and a good chunk of the buildings people are working on and trying to put businesses in or just rehab the buildings, but where they have a big void is just good food. And there's no real place to go to breakfast or lunch in Versailles that people enjoy, I guess. I think our biggest competition's the marathon, apparently. I haven't eaten there, but I've heard they do a really good breakfast. Apparently they do really well. So I will never knock a hole in the wall, food truck or whatever. But just looking at the location, my partner kind of had to drag me there to take a look at it. But as soon as I walked in, I just kind of fell in love with the vibe of the city, the direction that it's going, the building itself. And really just thought that there was a, niche market there that we could, hopefully enter into. And, where we go from here, I don't know. We might add dinner service on, later. Right now, lunch and breakfast is doing very well.
Good. I was about to ask, so it's been successful
No,
so far?
it's been great. We were, with all construction, we were behind. So we opened a little later into the year than we wanted to, but Keeneland was really good for us.
Sure.
The bourbon tours are coming through. And, again, Versailles is doing a really nice job. Commerce Versailles, they're doing a whole lot of festivals and things like that that go through the downtown. They've got kind of a party district, so to speak, to where people can mingle and walk around with their drinks and food. And they just did Burger Mania for the whole month of March, I guess, where all restaurants had to do was participate and really just to get free PR, and there were no rules or regulations. We could do whatever we wanted, charge whatever we wanted, but it really kind of showed the community that's there of all the restaurants trying to promote all the other restaurants, and really just it's a neat little city that's growing back up.
It is. And it's just such an easy, quick drive.
I love
Woodford County.
Not too bad at all.
Yeah.
And even through Keeneland, going to visit, the Keeneland traffic really wasn't an issue. Now, granted, our hours help with that because we're
Sure.
from the morning until about 3:00. And so we miss all the hoopla of Keeneland, but a lot of people stopped in for breakfast during the meet, and hopefully we'll keep going.
Yeah. Tell me about the Vine.
Well, the Vine, downtown Lexington has been quite the project to sign on for. It's changed a lot from what I originally signed on for to what it's kind of grown to. But on the 9th floor of the 106 building downtown on Vine, we have put in a, fine dining restaurant, a big horseshoe bar that seats about 25 or 30.
It's a beautiful space. I love it.
White tablecloth dining rooms. The developer put on, a perimeter balcony around the whole thing that's, 10 feet wide as you go across. So really the views that you see of the city are just spectacular.
Totally.
I mean, you see UK's campus, you see all of downtown, the sunsets that come through. I mean, we've got the best views in the city as far as I'm concerned. But again, at its core is a, open to the public fine dining restaurant, where the menu ranges from, anything from raw preparations to, some seafood all the way up to, high-end steaks or pastas or, along with, Coles and Eppings, we always, it's always guest driven. We were a lot seafood forward when we first opened up and realized, there was a need for that in Lexington, but not enough need to keep us busy.
I see.
So we've done a lot of reworking of the menu to make it a little more approachable, adding on pork chops and chicken dishes. And
are you still doing seafood though?
Oh yeah, we definitely have a full core of seafood. I mean, we're doing caviar and oysters and mussels, and sea bass has been on the menu from the beginning, scallops. But we've just kind of tried to balance that a little bit with good burgers on there now, and like I say, pork chops, chicken Milanese, all kinds of things. And we keep playing with the menu, just like anywhere that opens up new that's kind of a chef-driven place. You never really know what your clientele is after. And sometimes you got to, start small and aim big and train them to trust you, which is, what we went through at Cole's. Coming from Cincinnati, and, I had thoughts of what a menu would be. And that first iteration was not the best received iteration of menus. As a whole, it was, but there were certain items that we had thrown on there that just our diners didn't trust us well enough yet. And, and the food scene has, grown in Lexington, over the past 14 years that I've been back. That now Cole's, we can pretty much do whatever we want, and people are willing to give it a try.
Well, Cole's is a cult. People love Cole's.
It might not always be a winner, but they can at least appreciate what we're trying to do.
Sure.
And that's kind of where we are at the Vine as far as the restaurant goes. And along with that, on the 10th floor and the 8th floor is the Vine Club, which is a members-only social club. My partners are kind of trying to create kind of the Soho house where you can, you can come in and get a spa treatment on the 8th floor, then, hop up for dinner, finish up, on the rooftop. It'll have a pool. So you can finish up by the pool or the lounge up there. And again, it's on the rooftop, downtown Lexington. Yeah. So the views are stellar.
Completely.
And, but, as we live and learn, we're finding it's difficult to open up all that on a rooftop. The lounge portion we just opened up a few weeks ago, and hopefully a few weeks from now we'll have all the T's crossed and I's dotted to get the pool and the kitchen and the poolside bar up there open.
So is it like a structural thing? Like it's just tough to put a pool up on a roof?
Oh, it's just tough when we had all the ice for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
You get a lot of weather. It's been a lot of weather related delays.
Sure.
Which happen, no matter what you're doing. But, we've had the buck hoist elevator breakdown, and, everything that can go wrong will go wrong. And but we're getting close, and it's getting exciting, and I can't wait to jump in the pool.
Just jump in feet first.
see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we feel that as the social clubs have kind of started coming up in Lexington, that seems to be what a lot of people are missing. And I think it's a part of the age of, technology. You're staring at your screen all day.
Sure.
But to give people a space where they can come and socialize and, and have a home away from home, so to speak.
Yeah. A third place.
Yes.
Yeah.
But a place that you can come and spend the day, hit the pool, hit the spa, get some light bites upstairs, have a nice dinner downstairs.
Totally. Don't even have to leave the building.
Don't even have to leave the building. So that's
one-stop shop.
So that's kind of what we're after down there. And so far it's off to a great start, but with all new things, it takes a while.
Well, I was so excited to see when I went when you'd first open, and I was just like, man, it's so seafood forward. Like, and I think you're right about like there is kind of a need for that. And so, I mean, it's interesting that, of course you're so good at pivoting and like taking, what your audience is saying and like as feedback and changing things here and there. But I'm so glad to hear that you still have the seafood though, because we need it.
No, absolutely. Well, what we found was, everybody enjoyed the seafood. We had, delicious, great, fresh seafood that's just beautiful, but not everybody wants to eat seafood every day.
Why? I do. This is dumb.
Well, I think if you're on the coast, it's a different story. You're kind of
like people are suspicious of it. Like,
I think there's a little bit of that, but I also think, I don't want to eat fish every day.
You don't?
No.
Right,
I'm red meat. So
you told me that once that you really love cooking a steak.
No,
like, you really love that.
I love a good steak. I love braised beef. I love pork, but I am more, I'll eat seafood because I enjoy it, but it's not really what I'll crave.
Sure.
But if I go to a restaurant like the Vine that, has some good seafood, I'm going to give it a try.
When in Rome.
Because that's not what I'm going to cook at home.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And that's a good point too. I love getting seafood out because I don't want my whole house to smell like it when I'm cooking it at the house. Yeah.
Well, and it's really hard to find really nice fresh seafood.
Sure.
At the store.
In the landlocked state we're in.
Yes.
For sure. So where do you let your hair down the most of all of your establishments in terms of like creativity, like culinary, like where you'll try things out just to try them out, like kind of get wild? Is it Cole's?
Typically my home base is Cole's. And, especially in this past year where I have, had to pivot because I'm, as I always say, I wake up in the morning, I take the kids to school and I go to where the first fire is. And, if that's in Versailles, I'm in
I was
Versailles.
like, there's not four of you.
Cold.
You have four different places.
Yeah. So it's hard, but I've got, really good teams that, all four, I couldn't do, any of it without, the teams that I have in place, front of the house and back of the house. But Cole's is, where I'm most comfortable. That's where I, still know where, all the ins and outs and pots and pans and, and everything is. I still, occasionally I've gone through some chef transitions there and I've worked a few shifts and those are, happy moments for me because all I can worry about are the tickets and the guests, at that location. But where I have, had to pivot and really love doing it is really just putting my time and investment into the chefs around me. And, I've never claimed to be the most creative chef on the planet, but I can take your idea and show you how to make 30 of them on a, Saturday night.
Oh, I love that.
And, to make it a consistent product and, restaurants consistency is the key.
Sure.
And, you don't go to McDonald's, and forgive me for the people I know that own McDonald's, and expect the best burger in the world, but you know what you're going to get. It's always the same. So you're comfortable spending your money on it. And that's what, especially at our level, on our price point, people have to understand that they're going to spend their hard-earned money, but they know that they're feel safe in what they're going to get that's going to be good and delicious and, and bring them back for the next time. So really developing the chefs is really, the fun for me right now.
Like an apprentice program.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
And, by the time, like at Epping's, we've got 2 sous chefs, a chef, and then I've got a chef and a sous chef at every other location. So keeping them pointed in the right direction. And, for me, it's a mind jungle sometimes, just trying to keep straight what menus what at this point. But for me, the fun is watching their ideas and helping them, with my 30 some odd years of experience, say, I tried that back in, 95.
Now listen here.
Let's do it this way. And they get to learn and I get to see their creativity and, the team is really what brings all of these places together.
I bet you're so nice to work for though, because like I was a server all through grad school and I bartended a little bit too. And I would avoid the kitchen like the plague because every chef that I would work, they were mean. Why are they mean, Cole? Why are they always mean? And I bet you're not.
That is a loaded question.
Because you're stressed out?
A lot of it. You're standing in a kitchen that's 100 degrees. And
dealing with dumb servers.
I won't say dumb servers. I would never say dumb servers. But, a lot of it just comes from, a lot of times that chef or that cook don't really quite understand what the server is going through because they haven't lived in that world. So for me, I mean, I've been a busser, a dishwasher, a server, a hostess. I've done all of it. And I know for a fact that server doesn't want to ring that check in with, 10 lines of red substitutions. They just want to sell that item and, and make it real easy. So, 25 years ago, I was probably a little more hot-headed, a little more bravado. I've seen the restaurant industry, as a whole change quite a bit from, wild, wild west in the kitchen to, you get to say unkind things and, and I've never really lived in that world, but the restaurant just runs better if the front of the house and the back of the house get along.
Of course.
And, we're all here for the guests. We're all here for the same thing. And the more you can relay and keep repeating that message to all the staff, front and back of the house, then, the happier everybody is.
Totally.
And I think that shows, out in the dining room too, on stage that, you can tell that a server comes out and they just got torn up from the kitchen because you wanted no onions on a dish that's not possible, and why don't they know that? And and it's a lot for them to balance.
Sure.
A cook or a chef.
Conflict management triage.
Well, a cook or a chef only has to worry about what's coming out of the kitchen. The service staff has to worry about what's in the cocktails, what beers we have, what's the glass pours, what are the allergies and everything in the kitchen, and and you're getting your butt kicked on a Saturday night. It can be hard to rapid fire that out of your brain.
Absolutely.
So,
I think everybody should have to work in a restaurant at some point in their life. I mean, it teaches you so much about people.
Oh, I think everybody should put a year in.
I agree completely.
And they'll understand. I mean, the funniest thing that comes to mind as far as servers kind of losing their, minds sometimes is we had one come back and ask if there was onion powder in the seasoned flour for the onion rings because they had an onion allergy. And that's one of those moments that you just look at the server and you're like, think about what you're saying.
Yeah, right. Let's
but it's so easy for your brain to fall out that, but getting along makes it a lot easier.
Of course. So how else, I mean, you've been in, the culinary industry for 25 years, you said.
A little over 30.
A little over 30.
Yeah.
How has it changed in that amount of time besides just being wild, wild west of the kitchen? Like trends and like what do diners want then and now? And
I don't think diners have changed too much as far as that goes. Again, I think some of it's just being able to trust the restaurant that, you've come in 100 times, the food's been good, there's a feature that's kind of weird, let's give it a try. But ultimately, comfort food, especially in Lexington, rules supreme.
Of course. I asked you this last year because I was so fascinated by like Lexington specific, what's our palate, as a Lexingtonian, what's like our typical, and do you remember what you had said? If there's one thing you can always put on a menu that will always do well in Lexington.
Mashed potatoes and green beans?
Shrimp and grits.
Yeah, shrimp and grits.
Shrimp and grits. Yeah. And I was like, that is fascinating to me.
Being South adjacent, the comfort food. I mean, that's what I grew up eating, and and that always does really well. And at Cole's, especially in the beginning, we did a lot of spins on that traditional country food, or comfort food to make it a little more refined and fancy, if you will. And and those things do well, but I think the Lexington palate has evolved, and people are it used to be you would run not a well-known fish if you're not running halibut or swordfish or mahi. It doesn't sell very well, but now we're running things like hake and some odd fish that people are more willing to give it a try. I've always said if you're running an odd fish, you need to make it a very approachable set.
Totally. I remember this too.
If you're running a very boring set, you can make it a,
it's like baby steps. There'll be something on the plate you'll like.
And that's, always what I encourage with my kids and everything is, or everybody is to, you always got to give something a try. There's very few things that I don't like, but even though I don't like beets, I'll still try them occasionally just to see, how that goes. And it turns out I like golden beets. I just don't like purple beets.
Yeah.
My kids are a little tough with that.
I was going to say, I mean, with a chef as a dad, like, do you go home and just like make them these elaborate meals, or
no.
Are they adventurous eaters?
My son is a very adventurous eater. He is the one that if he tells you he doesn't like something, he doesn't like it. I mean, you just don't push it. My daughter says I don't like it. We force her to eat it and take another bite.
Like, oh, it's pretty good. Yeah.
But she is also, I mean, she's 12. She has her food handler's permit, is not afraid to get in the kitchen and, move a knife or make chicken tenders or call for runners on Expo.
So raising them right.
Yeah, well, summertime, a lot of time ends up being what we call Camp Cole's. And because my kids will be there, quite a bit. My general manager, her daughter will be there opening up the Vine. We had a couple other, management that had kids. And so at any given time, you would have 3 or 5 or 7 kids running around.
Though. What a fun childhood.
But my kids are the ones that know where the chocolate's hidden. They know where,
all the secrets.
That there's probably popsicles in the freezer in the basement. And that they know all of these things. They don't understand that some of those things I plant so they won't get into anything else, but I can
it's a decoy.
But I can always tell when the bag's not put away right, who's been in there. So
well, speaking of your kids, I don't think a lot of people know the story behind Poppy and Olive and why you had named this site of Epping's Poppy and Olive.
Well, Poppy and Olive, the restaurant originally was supposed to be kind of a parent friendly, non Chuck E. Cheese or
you have the biggest bathroom in Lexington, Kentucky. You can fit 2 or 3 strollers in there. Everyone talks about this. This, right?
You can strap your little one in to where you can actually
go to the bathroom. It's like the most family friendly bathroom.
And unfortunately, COVID kind of took the wind out of the sails on most of what we wanted to do there. But Poppy and Olive, we found out about my daughter when she was the size of an olive, and found out about my son when he was the size of a poppy seed.
Love it.
And so Poppy and Olive became that, and then unfortunately COVID came through, and you couldn't share things, and we couldn't do the Play-Dohs, and and just like any place, it evolves as it goes, and we still have those touches for the families that come in.
Oh, it's still totally family friendly,
and still get a lot of that clientele. But Epping's kind of ate some of that, just as we got busier in Epping's and needed more square footage, and COVID was fun,
especially for the restaurant industry. It was a breeze for you guys.
No, it was piece of cake.
I'd do it all over again.
Yeah, in a heartbeat. No.
No. Okay, let's talk about the building, though, of Cole's, because you have a long time history with it.
Yes.
Correct? Yeah. So right there on Main and... not Walton. Ashland, yes. Yeah. Maine and Ashland. And you, at one point, roller skated through it, like, as a child, right?
Oh, roller skated, rode a bike. My yaya and papu on the corner of Kramer and Walton ran the Arimes market. My yaya's house was next door. It's now a hair salon. And then my dad lived in the duplex on the other side on Kramer. My mom and my stepdad live on High Street on the other side of Woodland Park. So just rolling back and forth to, my yaya's house or my dad's house, from my parents' house, we were always in that parking lot, always riding our skateboards or bikes.
And it was like a store?
It was Jones Pharmacy at that point.
Okay, yeah.
My cousins are, 6 or 8 years older than I am, so they would run up the street and, go to the pharmacy and get the little balsa wood airplanes with the rubber bands and kites. And so, this neighborhood in general, was my stomping ground from as far back as I can remember.
It's like you were like OG warehouse block.
Oh, basically. Yeah. We, as I was laughing with Chad, we weren't allowed to come up here as kids because it was the seedier side of the neighborhood.
Sure was for a long time.
So it's been neat to watch this development take over and watch, families strolling around and just thriving businesses, and has made it very neat.
Yeah. And so you, if I remember correctly, you like really cut your teeth and got in Cincinnati. It was when you really were like, learning the ropes and like and then you decide I'm going back to Lexington to open up something. And then that particular building was available, right? And
it was that building that brought me back.
Yeah.
And,
okay.
My uncle and stepdad, or step-uncle and stepdad, had talking to somebody at a dinner party, found out that location was going to become available, and started talking to me about moving back home to do that. I was happy in Cincinnati. I was thriving. I'd been chef at Embers up there for 7 years at that point, with that group for 12 years. Had been there for 18 years. Didn't really never pictured myself coming back home, pictured myself heading to Santa Fe or Colorado or, somewhere else. But restaurants are kind of time warps. You look up and 6 months are gone, and, you just, that's the energy of a restaurant I love is, you've got your work family here, and we really do party together, cry together, laugh together, sweat together.
You're in the trenches. Of course.
But again, it's a location that I was familiar with. It's a, very neat building, the history of the building all the way back to the Stirrup Cup and Jones Pharmacy and Main on Main. It's, been a lot of, different iterations. And, originally we were going to open up a burger joint there.
Really?
Yes.
And so why not a burger joint?
The more time, I had spent in the building and just, started writing menus. Every menu that I came to ended up being, white tablecloth fine dining. And, as I presented it to, the others involved, they were like, what in the hell is this? And I was like,
you said burgers.
I was like, this is, this is my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And just like Versailles, I think at that point, Lexington was really ready for, something like that, to see all the fun places that have opened up since downtown. It's been really neat to see Lexington really become kind of a foodie, destination.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But the timing on that, really just couldn't have been better. And, being on Main Street, I think at that time, 25,000 cars a day were driving past.
Yeah. Smart.
So that location is kind of, if you can't make it there, you're not going to make it anywhere. So
It's do or die. So if the building had not become available, would you still be in Cincinnati?
I probably would be.
Wow. Okay.
Again, I didn't have anything to, draw me home. And my mom and dad will, laugh that they, pulled the strings to, get me back down here. But I just saw, a great opportunity. I was fascinated with how much Lexington had changed. I started coming down about once a week. In 18 years, my typical, visit home was to come say hey to my parents, hi to my dad,
Sure.
and, head on back. And I was always eager to get back to my friends and work and everything up there. So I hadn't really spent a lot of time downtown or around. And, back in 96 or 94 when I left, there wasn't anything to do. And so I came downtown and saw Thursday Night Live happening and all the bars down there, that were just full of people, and all the restaurants and development down there that were happening, and figured, let's give her a go.
Yeah. Your regulars, though, at Cole's they're another breed of people. I mean, they love that building, maybe as much, if not more so, than you. I mean, and they're nice. Like, you walk in, but you can tell it's like assigned seat. Like, they have assigned their own seating.
It's like that classroom where there's not really assigned seats, but we all know that's the seat. That's
exactly
Rocky's seat.
Sit. Yeah.
And no, I've always laughed about Cole's Bar in particular, because if it wasn't my bar, it would be my bar.
Yeah.
And, I really enjoy that, there's only 8 seats. There's not a whole lot of room. It's, we lightened it up. The ceilings used to be black, so it really used to, be a cave. But the community that's formed in there, my mom laughs all the time. They had started a couple of years ago now doing what they call Friday for Friends. And they come in and sit at the table in front of the fireplace in the bar and, invite whoever. It could be longtime friends, could be somebody that they met in the line at the grocery store that they just started a conversation.
I love it.
And they have had the neatest experience, being in there. And obviously everybody, all the regulars know that they're my parents, but now everybody who is a regular at that bar has been at Friday for Friends. And actually they have a group of 8 coming in tonight that is all of those folks together. And it's really neat. And, it gets back to kind of the, the social club downtown is, I think everybody is starving for, that community. And Cole's Bar's literally cheers.
Yeah. Everybody knows your name.
Norm
Yes.
Norm. And so it's been a lot of fun to, for me, that's the fun of restaurant. And I always had my bars and my restaurants that I like to go, hang out in. I like a restaurant bar. because I know with the bartender, I can chit chat about, either life or, how they love or hate their job and the ins and outs, but I also get to watch, what they're doing and equipment that they have and techniques that they're using. And, but, the Cole staff, is kind of a unicorn staff. I mean, most of my bartenders have been, or several of my bartenders have been with me for longer than 12 years.
Wow.
Several have been with me for 8 or 9 years at this point. So, it really is walking into Cheers.
Yeah.
And I always tell them, my name's on the sign for the restaurant, but it truly is their restaurant. Our guests are coming in not necessarily for our burger, but, to say hi to John or Austin or Paige and see what's going on in their lives. And, they'll even, some of them, they'll, go to get invited to parties and, all kinds. So it's been, it's a fun experiment and, just people being social.
Well, you sound good at community building. I mean, it takes a good team, and it's important to, facilitate all of that. It's great.
No, 100%.
Yeah. So tell me about Eppings, when you opened Eppings. It's like, how much time do we have?
Yeah. Well, that's, another one of those things where construction, goes.
Because you're in a very historic building. Yes.
We are. And that comes with certain, issues, but, ultimately, the bones of an old building, or you don't get any better. I mean, you really don't. And turning this from national provisions, which was, an open air market, and, really, again, another, space we took over with dark colors and kind of moody. And, we really, with the success we had at Cole's and Cole's Bar, that was kind of, the objective here was to build a bar as kind of the heart of the restaurant.
Sure.
And that's why we had Chad knock holes in the walls for us so we could have a nice wraparound bar to where people can, see each other. And, you always want to create that space to see and be seen, and
absolutely.
And you get to see who's coming in. And so really the heart of the restaurant was the bar, but we wanted to create a space that you could come in for any occasion. So where we are now is what I always refer to as kind of the date night dining room.
It's such a date night spot. Everyone talks about that.
There's no TVs, there's no distractions, there's no I typically
it's
don't.
just beautiful, and it's clean, and it's consistently great food.
And then on the other side, if you want to come in and watch the ball game, we've got the TVs above the bar. And a little more community based seating. Typically we don't use our community tables very much for, 2 tops and 3 tops. It's usually we've turned into, people know they can come, that has a big party, and we can take care of them. And then, the Poppy and Olive, trying to, at that point, our kids were young, and again, we want good food and a nice cocktail. And, I love
Why can't we have it all?
I love a Mexican place as much as, anybody else.
Yeah.
But, we would watch people bring kids into Cole's, and they were terrified that, watching them reach for wine glasses. And then we don't, it's cost of doing business if a kid knocks over a glass, or, even a grown up. But we wanted to create that space so parents could relax and eat and have a good time. And if your kid's bouncing in the booth, fine. As long as they're not, tearing the place down. And then, with the party rooms, that gave us the aspect of, some private dining.
Yeah.
But at the core was, the bar, and creating hopefully that same community that we had created at Cole's, but just more room for more community. And we have found that to be the case. I mean, at 4:00 for happy hour, there's a line out the door waiting
always
for us.
Always. It's because of the $5 old fashions.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, hopefully that's not
all of it. No, of course
that's
not.
how we got them in the door.
That's right.
And but we get that same sort of community, and and a lot of the staff here in the front of the house has been with us for quite some time. And as you get that age in on your staff, they know your guest better than the guest knows themselves. I mean, a guest is always so impressed when they walk in and they just set your drink down.
Better. I mean, there's nothing better.
Well, and everybody's always like, "Oh my God, how do you remember my drink?" And the bartender's like, "I can't forget your drink." And that's just, how you roll up front is that facial recognition
Yeah.
of, and
drink.
people are, they're habitual. I mean,
Sure.
there's certain restaurants that I go to that I have not tried anything else on their menu because I found that one thing that I enjoy.
I'm the same way.
And if I were to go a couple of times in a week, I would probably branch out. But,
Sure.
Once you find that, again, it's consistency.
I know.
Once you find that one that checks all the boxes, I'm not going to try anything else because this is what I want. This is what I came in for. And,
I completely agree.
and I think that's the same for here. And, everywhere we change our menus quite a bit. So I get some flack sometimes of why'd you take that off the menu?
Know. Especially, but you're so good about seasonal, and you're always using local things all the time. And I love your spring menu for sure. It's like everything. It's like, oh, thank God things are growing again. Like, oh, this is so good.
And this is why I need my chefs because I am more of a winter fall menu person.
Are you? Interesting.
I love all the braised things.
Okay.
I mean,
stick to your bones.
Pot roast and short ribs and ossobuco and all the things that take hours in the oven. That's what that's what I like to cook and
But
eat.
you've been playing around, or at least last year you told me ham, or you've been like curing your own ham. How's that going? you were like, I've got a pig in my garage.
If you ask my wife, not very well.
Oh no.
If you ask all of my chefs, fantastic.
Okay, great.
I believe I have
She's having to sacrifice
15 of them hanging in my garage right now.
Oh no.
And well, again, that's kind of, I've taken the mentorship to the extreme on that, but I want, my chefs to participate in those kinds of things. Country ham, I've always loved country ham. And have been fascinated to learn how to do it. Clem's Food does this every year, and it's been going on for, years and years and years. It used to be the core of their business, and then they moved, they pivoted to other directions, but they have maintained this class that I think this year there were probably 180 people there, 150, included people that had done it, 50 times and some that were new and their kids. But country ham, I mean, as a food person, all of the things that I've ever tried to do in charcuterie of aging a whole muscle or a ham or anything has always been 100% control of the environment, the humidity, the temperature.
Oh, of course.
And, and country ham is as old as, Kentucky. So, you go through the process, and the whole process takes about 6 weeks by the time you take the hams home and hang them to let the salt equalize and, and all the different steps you take. And, I brought them home that first year. And, and the temperature went from, being in the 40s or 30s all the way up to the 80s. And I called, Stephen Clem, and I said, hey, man.
It's bacon.
I was like,
I'm bacon now.
I'm like, this goes against everything I have ever learned. Is this okay? And he's like, oh, it's perfect. It's great. He's like, we hang them in, this spot. Sometimes it hits 90 or 100 degrees. And he's like, that's just going to develop all that flavor.
Amazing.
And so we, started cooking those for the first time, last year. And again, it's just kind of an experiment to see. Now we've got so many hams hanging that we're trying them at 12 months and 15 months and, and just, to see the differences in them.
You need like in bourbon rick houses, you just need like a ham house.
Yeah, I mean, that's luckily there's no cars in my garage.
Yeah, there's no room.
I've got not without banging the windshield at this point. And but it's been a fascinating thing to just to do and experiment with and see. And
I love that.
Again, it goes against everything I've ever learned as far as whole muscle, and and I feel like this is one of those traditions that'll get lost if people like me don't try to continue it on.
Absolutely. Good for you.
Food preservation, play around with a lot of fermentation and things like that. That's kind of, where I had gone before I got busy with multiple projects. But, those are kind of same as, throwing short ribs in an oven. You wait 3 hours, on fermentation. You throw stuff in a jar and keep an eye on it and wait a couple months and see what it turns into.
Always so much better.
So kimchi's and pickles and, and all of those things. I did a little kombucha for a little while, and that was fascinating. But for me, a lot of cooking has always been science. I was science in college before, I was requested to take a short time off to figure myself out. And that's where I realized,
little sabbatical.
Yes, a little sabbatical. And that's where I realized that, kitchens and restaurants were where I wanted to be. But the science behind all of those things of lacto fermentation and, hanging mussels and salt equilibrium and, those all keep my brain busy. And, I enjoy those kinds of projects.
I like seeing that your interest. I mean, and I like that you become kind of monomaniacal too. Like when you find something you really like, you really like follow it down. So
it's always interesting. I just had a chef transition at Cole's, and somewhere or another he pulled or found a menu from probably 13 years ago, looking at the menu from Cole's.
Okay. Like one of your original kind of menus?
One of our first year menus, which I have all of those items, stored in the, our menu, maker. But what those menus actually look like, we don't know anymore.
Yeah.
And so it was very interesting to see the menu and just see how we have grown and developed from that first menu.
Yeah.
And, even, an old school dish like the Moroccan stew that has been on and off the menu for, eons since the beginning. It was one of our original items, but the techniques we were using 14 years ago, light years behind what we're doing now.
Yeah.
And so it's always fun to see how that grows and develops.
Yeah,
And,
for sure.
that's where you always laugh at the new chefs because they want to put the kitchen sink in everything and, and take out 12 ingredients and see what you're left with. And, and that's, it's the fun of watching it.
I'm sure. Okay. Last question. And it's a very important one. What is your cocktail of choice? Like, what is your drink?
My drink is bourbon on the rocks.
Boring. I'm just kidding.
with a little splash of water.
Okay.
Cincinnati for eons. And, at that time, once you cross the river, your bourbon selection just kind of went away.
Dwindles.
So
I'm sure.
For years and years, I was a Makers and Coke with a lime.
Love it.
Did that for eons. But once I came back down to Lexington and, everywhere you go, you've got just unlimited choices of, bourbon. I decided I didn't want to taint my bourbon anymore, so I started
a purist.
Yeah, so I started just drinking it on the rocks. I do a splash of water, which I know pisses some people off.
I don't care who it pisses off, and I don't care it being on the rocks either. It makes people mad that it's on ice. I'm like, I want it cold.
Well,
like,
it's to slow me down.
Yeah, true. Self-preservation.
It is. I mean, that's as the difference between being a chef and an owner is you've got a lot less time to do those kinds of things, and then add family on top of it. But I've always lived under the guise of one's just right, two are too many, and three are too few. So if I get to that third one, bad things can happen. Mainly how I feel the next day. But no, I use that to kind of slow me down a little bit. But sure. I can drink it neat. I just prefer not to.
I prefer it cold too.
And but I do, if I am out to a restaurant that I'm trying to check out, I always try to order something off of their drink menu. Just you're always looking for ideas and techniques. And I actually had a paper plane a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it's growing in popularity. I've noticed. The paper people are liking the paper plane.
Well, everybody's going back to those old schools.
Old school ones, yeah.
And, and I always, they're old school for a reason.
Totally.
And, you may have forgotten about them, but they're really tried and true good cocktails. And so it's, whenever I see something like that on a menu, I'll go for it.
Totally.
And then I'll switch to bourbon.
Stick your foot out just a little bit and then back in the comfort zone. Yeah, for sure.
So,
well, thank you so much for being on today.
Well,
I really
thanks
appreciate
for
it.
having
And
me.
Best of luck with all your projects. I'm sure next time we'll talk, you'll have opened up 2 more things.
I hope not. Well,
busiest
I don't know.
man in Lexington.
We'll see what happens. No, I've been very fortunate with the partnerships that I have come across, especially in the last couple of years. And it has been, the downtown project has been very exciting. And again, it's, for me, downtown, watching the developer turn most of the building into condos. He's got another condo project that's, going to happen here soon. But to watch Lexington kind of grow inward a little bit, I think is really what downtown needs. And, used to be, when I was in high school, you drive 5 minutes in any direction and you were in Egypt. Now that's a 15 or 20-minute drive before you hit the farmland. So I think it would be good for Lexington to, a little more investment in downtown. And, make that, a nice living space. And, they're doing a lot of great things with Phoenix Park and Gatton Park and, all of those projects going on to really bring people downtown. But we really need the people to live downtown. And I think we're on a good path there.
Yeah.
So,
well, thanks again.
So we'll get these done and we'll see what happens.
And to see what happens from there. Stay tuned. Sounds great.